The cold winter air over the Black Sea, once filled with the quiet hum of port activity, now carries a sense of dread and uncertainty. The region, vital to Ukraine's economy and the world's food supply, has become a front line in a new kind of warfare. That silence was shattered by thunderous explosions as Russian forces unleashed a coordinated wave of drone attacks on December 30, 2025, targeting the heart of Ukraine's maritime trade. These strikes zeroed in on Ukraine's vital ports of Pivdennyi and Chornomorsk, key gateways for grain exports that help feed millions of people across continents. The world depends on these ports for stable food prices and supply. The attacks were precise and devastating, hitting oil storage tanks and critical port facilities. Fires raged through the night, crippling Ukraine's ability to trade and threatening to disrupt global grain markets. This is not random violence. It's a calculated strategy to choke off Ukraine's economic lifeline, undermine its resilience, and pressure the global community to respond. Just last week, Odesa suffered one of the largest aerial assaults of the war, plunging hundreds of thousands into darkness. The city's residents now face nightly blackouts and the constant threat of renewed attacks. The conflict has moved far beyond the front lines, becoming a relentless siege on Ukraine's economic foundations and a test of the nation's endurance. Civilian ships loading grain were hit, sending a chilling message to the international shipping community. The risks of operating in the Black Sea have never been higher, and every vessel now faces the threat of attack. The struggle for control over these waters is now a central battleground, with consequences that ripple far beyond Ukraine's borders. Food security for millions is at stake, and the world is watching. Ukraine's ports stand as enduring symbols of resilience and hope, but with every new attack, their vulnerability grows. The fight to keep these lifelines open is more urgent than ever. As the world prepared to welcome a new year, cities sparkled with fireworks and hope, and families gathered to celebrate. But in the shadow of these festivities, a very different story was unfolding at a Ukrainian port. Two civilian cargo ships, the Emmakris 3 and Captain Karam, were struck by Russian drones while they were loading wheat, their hulls torn open in a sudden violent attack. This was a direct assault on non-military vessels, endangering the lives of ordinary sailors who risk everything to keep global supply chains moving. These men and women, far from home, suddenly found themselves on the front lines of a conflict not of their making. Ukrainian officials swiftly condemned the incident, calling it a deliberate act of aggression that targeted clearly marked civilian ships. They argued that such attacks violate international law and threaten the safety of all maritime workers in the region. The message from Russia was unmistakable. All shipping in the Black Sea is now at risk, regardless of its purpose or cargo. The sea, once a vital artery for trade, has become a zone of uncertainty and fear. As a result, insurance costs for vessels operating in the Black Sea have soared to unprecedented levels, making each journey a gamble for shipping companies and their crews. Some companies are now reconsidering their routes, and may soon find the danger too great to justify continued operations. The economic impact is already being felt, with fewer ships willing to risk the journey. Each attack makes it harder and more expensive for Ukraine to export its goods, especially vital grain shipments. This threatens the country's wartime economy and the livelihoods of countless farmers and workers who depend on these exports. The international community has condemned these attacks in the strongest terms, with leaders and organizations calling for an end to the violence. Yet, words alone have not stopped the drones or restored safety to the sea lanes. For the crews who continue to sail these dangerous waters, the threat is real and ever-present. They are the unsung heroes of global trade, facing risks that few can imagine. Their courage and determination keep Ukraine's grain flowing to the world, but with every voyage, the risks grow, and the future of safe passage remains uncertain. The ports of Odesa, Pivdennyi, and Chornomorsk are the beating heart of Ukraine's economy, serving as the main arteries for trade and prosperity. Before the war, these ports handled over 70% of the country's exports, moving everything from agricultural products to industrial goods across the globe. Their strategic location on the Black Sea has long made them vital not just for Ukraine, but for international supply chains as well. With other major ports destroyed or occupied, this cluster now stands as Ukraine's indispensable lifeline to the world. Every day, thousands of workers keep the flow of goods moving, ensuring that Ukraine remains connected to global markets despite the ongoing conflict. Grain, sunflower oil, steel, and machinery flow through these deep-water terminals. These exports not only support the economy, but also provide crucial funding for the war effort, helping to pay for defense, humanitarian aid, and the daily needs of millions of Ukrainians. The foreign currency earned from these exports is essential. It keeps the military supplied, funds social services, and allows the government to function even in the face of adversity. Without this income, Ukraine's ability to resist would be severely weakened. Recent Russian attacks have targeted this vital infrastructure, destroying oil tanks, crippling loading equipment, and severing logistical links. Each strike is an attempt to choke off Ukraine's economic lifeblood and undermine its resilience. But these ports are more than just economic assets. They are powerful symbols of Ukraine's connection to the global market and its defiance against isolation. Their continued operation is a testament to the courage and determination of those who work there. Every ship that sails from these ports is a small victory, a sign that Ukraine refuses to be cut off, and that hope and resistance endure even in the darkest times. Russia's determination to shut them down is matched, step for step, by Ukraine's resolve to keep them open. Workers, soldiers, and local communities all play a role in defending these gateways. The battle for the ports is not just about territory, it is a battle for Ukraine's survival, sovereignty, and its place in the world. The fate of these ports will help decide the country's future, shaping not only Ukraine's destiny, but the stability of the region and the world beyond. Attacks on Ukraine's Black Sea ports send shockwaves through global food markets. Ukraine is a top exporter of wheat, corn, barley, and sunflower oil, supplies that many countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia depend on. Damaged ports mean slower, less efficient exports, creating backlogs and driving up shipping costs. These costs are passed on to consumers, raising food prices in countries already struggling with inflation. Even small price increases can push vulnerable families closer to hunger. Disrupted exports create volatility in global markets, forcing food importing nations to compete for limited supplies. International aid organizations, like the World Food Programme, rely on Ukrainian grain for emergency relief. The attacks hinder humanitarian efforts, making it harder to deliver aid to those in need. The war on Ukraine's ports is a war on global food security. The world's dinner tables are directly affected by every strike. The Black Sea has become a high-tech battleground, with both Russia and Ukraine deploying sea drones and new tactics. Ukraine's innovative use of unmanned vessels has targeted Russian warships, and more recently, Russia's Shadow Fleet, aging tankers used to evade sanctions and transport oil. Strikes on tankers like Kairos and Virat near Turkish waters have disrupted a key revenue stream for the Kremlin. Russia's escalation against Ukrainian ports is seen as retaliation for these attacks. Now, any vessel in the Black Sea could become a target, blurring the line between military and civilian shipping. Shadow Fleet vessels often turn off transponders, making them hard to track and increasing the risk of environmental disaster if sunk. This tit-for-tat at sea raises the stakes for both sides and the international community. The Black Sea is now a chessboard of drones and ships where every move has global consequences. Ukrainian officials have responded to the attacks with condemnation and defiance. Deputy Prime Minister Oleksiy Kuleba called the strikes a deliberate effort to cripple Ukraine's logistics and shipping. The Ukrainian Navy labeled the attacks on civilian vessels as war crimes, threatening global food security. These statements are part of an information war, countering Russian propaganda and rallying international support. For Ukrainians, the message is clear. Their leaders are fighting to protect the nation's interests and keep the ports open. The tone is one of resilience and determination, reinforcing the national will to resist. "They want to block our sea, but they will not succeed," declared one official. Despite destruction and danger, Ukraine's resolve remains unbroken. These voices reflect a nation under siege, but unbowed. The war on Ukraine's ports has a devastating human cost. Civilians in Odesa, Pivdennyi, and Chornomorsk live under constant threat, with air raid sirens and the fear of sudden attack. The psychological toll is immense, especially on children growing up in a world where the sky brings danger. Port workers, truck drivers, and farmers lose their livelihoods when infrastructure is hit. Economic disruption ripples through the region, pushing families into poverty. In mid-December, a massive assault on Odesa's energy infrastructure left hundreds of thousands without power, heat, or water in freezing winter. Russia's campaign also targets key bridges and supply routes, isolating communities and making aid delivery harder. Ukrainian authorities have had to evacuate villages near the border due to relentless shelling. The human cost is measured in displaced families, lost jobs, and shattered lives. The port war is a war on Ukraine's people. Despite relentless attacks, Ukraine's Black Sea ports continue to operate, a testament to the nation's resilience. Repair crews work around the clock to clear debris and restore operations, keeping grain exports moving. This is no accident. It's the result of careful planning, rapid repairs, and close coordination with the military. International sailors and shipping companies risk their lives to keep the maritime corridor open. Their bravery ensures Ukraine is not isolated from the world. These ships, flying many flags, symbolize global solidarity and defiance against Russia's blockade. Every loaded ship is a victory, showing Ukraine will not be starved into submission. The port's resilience mirrors the spirit of Ukraine itself. Even under threat, commerce and hope endure. The Black Sea conflict may seem distant, but its impact is global and personal. Russian attacks on Ukraine's ports threaten food supplies, raising prices for bread and cooking oil worldwide. The deliberate targeting of civilian ships violates maritime law and endangers sailors everywhere. If unchecked, this sets a dangerous precedent, making global trade routes less safe for all. The struggle for Ukraine's ports is a fight for the principle that economic life should not be a military target. The resilience of Ukrainian port workers and international crews upholds the rules that keep commerce flowing. The smoke over Odesa is a warning. These conflicts reach every home and table. Supporting Ukraine's ports is about defending global security and prosperity.